Good morning, boys and girls. This is our handwriting page for today. On this side, we are going to do our uppercase D. To begin with, I would like you to put your name on it because we always want to begin by writing our name. Now watch how we make our uppercase D. We start at the dot. We do a big line down, and then we frog jump, ribbit, with frog jumping back up, and we do a curve from the ceiling to the floor. So we need to trace these. We start at the dot, we make a big line from the ceiling to the floor, then we frog jump, ribbit, back up to the ceiling, and make a big curve from the ceiling down to the floor, or from the top of this line to the bottom of that line. So we start at the dot, we make a big line from the ceiling to the floor, flip it, we frog jump, and we make a curve from the top of the line to the bottom of the line, and that's also from the ceiling to the floor, because that's where the big line's at. Let's try this one. Start at the dot, make a big line from the ceiling to the floor, ribbit. That was the frog jumping. Make a big curve from the top of the line down to the bottom of the big line. Big line from the ceiling to the floor, ribbit, and a curve from the top to the bottom. Now we're going to do this line, and if you need to pause the video to get these finished, you can do so. So then this one, it gives us a D to trace right here, so we can trace it. But notice it's also showing us how the D would fit into a box. So now we have boxes to put our D in. We do not have any to trace, but we still have our dot to start with. So we start at our dot and we make a big line from the ceiling to the floor. Then we're going to frog jump, ribbit, and we make a curve from the top of that line down around and touch the bottom of that big line. Notice how I kept my uppercase D in my box, because we don't want it to get so big that it invades the space of others. So now we're going to do this one, and the same thing, a big line from the ceiling to the floor, ribbit, and a big curve from the top of the line to the bottom of the line. Now I want you to go ahead and do these other uppercase D's, and we follow the same pattern. A big line from the ceiling to the floor, then ribbit, and then we do a big curve from the top of the line to the bottom of the line. And it's okay to get close to the box, like here. We just don't want to go outside of that box because we're trying to make all of our letters a nice size. Now down here, we don't have the boxes, do we? But we do see the dots where the next letter should begin. So we know not to let our first letter get over into the other letter spaces. So we start at the dot, we make a big line from the ceiling to the floor, then we ribbit, and then we do a big curve from the top of that line to the bottom. Big line from the ceiling to the floor, and then a big curve from the top of the line to the bottom. And we're going to finish our other uppercase D's here now. Now over here, they did not give us a dot to start with, but we know our dot was up here in the ceiling. So we know to start on the ceiling. We don't start in the middle because the uppercase D begins on the side. So we have to make our line over here closer to the stop sign. and then we ribbit and jump up, and then we make our cove. If we began our D all the way over here, we wouldn't have room to make that nice big cove. Okay, boys and girls, finish this side of the paper. Pause the video while you finish this side, because I'm going to flip the paper and we are going to work on our lowercase d's next. This is the back side of our paper for the lowercase d. So to begin the lowercase d, we do not begin with the big line. To begin with, we start right here at this dot, and we're going to make a magic C. Then we're going to helicopter up, on up, bump, and down, bump. So we are going to start at the dot. We are making our magic C, helicopter up, bump, down, bump. Start at our dot, make our magic C, helicopter up, bump, down, bump. Now again, we're not coving it this way, because that is the wrong direction. We always try to work from the top down or from above down. In this case, we start at the middle of the letter because we have that nice magic C we can start with for our cove. Helicopter up, on up, bump, down, bump. So we start at the dot on the doorknob. We make our magic C. We go up, on up to the ceiling and down to the floor. We start at the dot on the doorknob and make our magic C, up to the ceiling, down to the floor. Start at the dot, make our magic C, go up to the ceiling and down to the floor. Now down here we have one to trace, and then we just have our boxes. So for the one we trace, we start at the dot, we make our magic C, we go up to the ceiling and down to the floor. Now here it just gives us the open dot to begin with. So we need to begin at that dot, and we always begin with the magic C for the lowercase d, up to the ceiling and down to the floor. Start at the dot, make a nice magic C, up to the ceiling and down to the floor. And see how we're making sure it stays in the box? We can make it nice and round. See, I made this one more round than I did that one, but I did not go out of the box on the side of it. So we start at the dot and we make a magic C, up to the ceiling and down to the floor. See how nice and round I was able to make that one, and I still stayed inside of the box. Make a magic C, up to the ceiling and down to the floor. Magic C, up to the ceiling and down to the floor. Magic C, up to the ceiling and down to the floor. And one more inside our box. A magic C, up to the ceiling and down to the floor. Now, down here, we do not have our boxes. Remember, this is where they give us just the dots, and we have to remember to make our letters the better size. So we start at the dot, we make a magic C, go up to the ceiling and down to the floor. Notice this is not a frog jump letter. We do not pick our pencil up whenever we're doing this. Start at the dot, make a magic C, up to the ceiling and down to the floor. See how nice and round that one is, but it did not go over here into the other D's bubble. It stayed inside its own bubble. Start at the dot, make a magic C, up to the ceiling, down to the floor. Start at the dot, make a magic C, up to the ceiling, down to the floor. Start at the dot, make a magic C, up to the ceiling, down to the floor. Now over here, they did not give us our dot to start at, but we know the dot here was on the doorknob. And we know if we start over here, we can't carve because we run out of room. So we have to start on this side. So we make our magic C. We go up to the ceiling and down to the floor. And that is our lowercase d. Thank you for doing the handwriting pages with me today, boys and girls. Have a great day.